first thing that we're going to start working on is the rubber guard. And the rubber guard, with a lot of people that either have knee problems or flexibility issues, at first they're like, oh, well, I can't even approach the rubber guard because I don't have the flexibility or the leg dexterity for it. We're going to show you a couple of ways to set it up, and we're going to start real slow with it to try to adapt it so that maybe you can put it into your arsenal, into your game, without having to have the extremely advanced leg flexibility that Eddie Bravo has. So I'm going to get my opponent, and we're going to start working on everything from breaking down the posture to establishing the rubber guard.
We found ourselves in the guard here, and as we remember from the first series, the angle of my hips right here, they're at an obtuse angle. It's a very bad angle. I'm low on his hips. He has good posture. This is a bad situation for me. One of the first things that I want to do is control the posture. If I'm relying on wrist control in an MMA fight, I'm going to get punched in the face a lot because when he breaks wrist control, now I'm completely defensive. Instead of doing that, I want to close the gap here. Space is the enemy with rubber guard theory, and it's much more adapted for an MMA or submission grappling style. I really don't want to sit here and maintain this position. If I do, I'm getting punched in the face a lot. If this is your last option, you need to scramble and get back to your feet or try to work a different position. So we're going to talk a couple of ways to close the distance. First, he is going to have one of, if not both hands, either on your hips, your chest, your legs, some combination thereof. He's going to be working on maintaining his posture to open your guard and start advancing his position. We're going to use that to our advantage. What I want to do is first I have to clear whatever's in between us that's keeping me down. I have to clear it. And there's mainly two ways. Instead of just picking it up and moving it, because obviously he's not going to let me do that, I either want to push it in or out. And I can do it with either hand. I can reach across. Don't get your elbow caught across, but if you just wanted to move across, that's fine. Or pull out. I normally go out. I normally go over his arms and pulling out. So if he's here, I would reach into his wrist and pull out. Meanwhile, I'm using my legs to pull him toward me and my upper body toward his upper body. So all in one motion, I'm going here. And I meet. If he's strong enough to hold my weight, I literally go up to him. Now when I'm here, I can lock up on the head. There's a couple of different options that you have. You can just basically hook it just like a rear naked choke. Slam your shoulders back down. Now you've closed the gap. Now your legs are at a much better angle. You're controlling his posture. Now you're in a much more aggressive guard. You don't have to worry about getting punched as much. That's one way to break the guard open, or to break his posture down. He's here, he postures up. Next way, I want to take his arms, and instead of thinking about pulling him straight across his body, I want to think about taking his hands and putting them on his chest. I go here. Because when I go here and sit up, now, the exact same theory. I'm basically just breaking this object that's in between us. I'm moving it, whether it's out, whether it's in, whatever the case is, I'm moving it out from in between us. So we're going to go through, we're going to break him down. I break, I lift, and I've locked him up. Once I've locked him down here, now we can start working the rubber guard. One of the first things you're going to have to do is what I call a scramble guard. It's where Forrest Griffin utilizes a lot. That's where you put your feet right here and you utilize it to either scramble or to advance your position. If your opponent starts to punch, you can literally kick with your legs. It'll push you this way, him this way. You can work back to your feet. We're going to use the scramble guard to work into the rubber guard. We're here. We just walk straight up. See how now I'm much further away from him? As opposed to having his head next to my head, I have his head toward the center of my stomach. While I'm here, now it becomes much easier to flip the leg up and grab it in rubber guard. If I just try from underneath him, if I just try to reach up and grab rubber guard, I'm never going to be able to grab it. I don't care how flexible you are. What I have to do is break his body down and get away from him. Again, I like to put my feet on the hips, create some distance, grabbing it. Now, if his hand is already on the mat, then you're already good to go. Most people will lock both hands inside here. It's an MMA fight. They don't want to get punched in the face either. So when you grab this, he's locked here. Now, you can either leave this foot on the hip or you can do a leg curl. I like to leave it on the hip. The biggest thing you want to make sure of is that you don't just leave it sloppily laying around or he's going to cross out of your guard that way. If he does that, you're going to get crossed and he's going to go into side control. It's a bad day. So you've locked in your rubber guard. We got our foot here. Also with the rubber guard, never grabbing over the foot. If you have to grab over the foot right here to hold the position for a second, that's okay. But when you're really starting to attack with rubber guard, you've got to turn your body and grab under it. I'm grabbing this way, not over the top, this way with my wrist, here. Now, I've really, really locked his position down. I don't want my elbow just grabbing out here. I want my arm straight down across his shoulder. Now, if my opponent tries to posture up, he really can't. I'm controlling his posture with pretty much, at my will. Now, from here, I've effectively controlled his posture. I've got my foot on his hip or doing leg curl. This is so if he tries to cross, I just keep my foot on his hip and turn with him. And I'm in a really good spot to start working some offensive positions here. All right, we're in the guard. Our opponent has postured all the way up. Again, I want to clear his arms out of the way. Clearing them either way. I kind of like to go this way. If your opponent's trying to punch you, he's already doesn't have to work for you. If he reaches back to punch, now you're already here. It's just, you'll get used to snatching your opponent with your legs, clearing this out of the way. Boom, snatching. If you have to, come up to him, lock him down, okay? Now you've broken down the posture. From here, again, I can't just reach down and grab rubber guard from here. Eddie Bravo, Mike can, I don't know anybody that's that flexible. When you're here, start moving. Walk with your shoulders. Go here. As you do that, I already load one foot. And keep in mind, you can do this on either side. This is just totally personal preference. Locking the foot on the hip, immediately, if I have to, I can grab it for a second, but I want to be able to bring this foot up as high as I can, grabbing it right there. Okay? Both his hands are right here. I got to start working past that, but now I've effectively established the rubber guard. I'm in what's called mission control. One of the other alternatives that you have, if for any reason you can't get your hips away from him, you're having a hard time or he's walking up, he's really grinding you forward, you want to be able to rotate your hips out from under him. Again, I like to put my foot on his hip. I do that anyway when I'm shrimping out, even if I'm not playing rubber guard. But from here, I want to create an angle with our body. Now, I've already made it to where my leg doesn't have to go over the biggest part of his back, and I've already made it to where I can elongate my arm, and I can reach my leg easier. So from here, all I'm doing is creating this angle. Here, when I grab it, now I'm already in a good position. The other way that we'd worked before was to walk up and then grab it. This way, maybe even a little bit quicker, we're just going to turn our body. And when we turn our body, now it's already here. Okay, now if you need to, you can start working back into a more inline position, but it's a good way to establish the rubber guard. That's another good way to utilize it if you are having a flexibility issue, or if your opponent simply won't let you walk away from him. If I walk away from him and he walks with me, or he's locking my hips down, one of my other alternatives, push down, grab it. You notice that I even grab my own leg with this arm and hand it to this arm. Literally, I'm just transferring it. I go from here, grabbing, locking. My elbow's down on his shoulder. I'm in a good lockdown mission control position, and my opponent's posture is effectively broken. I can start utilizing rubber guard and some of the offensive techniques.